Welcome to another episode of DD on the Spot. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Johnson. And before I get to our guest here today, well, you should recognize our guest. We have Hulda back on the podcast for the third time. She's coming to us again from Honduras, where we're going to talk about, what the pandemic's been like there, what she's been up to with her bodybuilding career since we last talked to her. I think it was like July 17th. So we're recording this first day of July. So it's almost a year. It's basically, we're 2 weeks shy of it. But I'm excited to have her back on and have her talk. I mean, she's a great guest. Hulda, thank you so much for coming back on.
Thanks, Ryan, for having me again here. It's always a nice talk.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I got to ask, what is the weather like in Honduras today?
Right now we have like about 100 degrees every day. It's really, really hot. It's not pleasant. It's very humid too.
Yeah, it's like 90 degrees here in Minnesota, and I think that's bad. And it's a little humid as well. But how do you keep that motivation to, work out, especially in that type of weather? Because I'm one of those people where once it reaches a certain temperature, you're like, I am not taking one step outside. It doesn't matter.
I know. It's basically I just have to program myself. I know that it's just for training because there's no AC at the gym, but there's fans. So just that time. The other times when I'm home, I'm always I will always have the AC. It's impossible not to.
Oh, yeah, I cannot imagine that. But I think the last time that we talked, you had won a show and you had gotten your pro card. I'm not sure, but I think I did a little. It was right after. Was it the Chicago Pro that you won?
Yes.
Yes, yes. So we did that. So what have you been up to since then? How's this last year looked when it comes to your bodybuilding?
Well, I have been prepping this year to do another show soon, hopefully. Last year after July, I took a little hiatus and was about like 3 months off, not the gym, but off a training regime, like to keep my muscle, basically. So I had to restart a little bit from a few pounds less. And it's been good because since the end of December, I've been working and gained about 25 pounds already.
Wow.
So it's pretty cool.
So how does someone gain 25? I mean, did your diet just absolutely change then in order to put on that weight?
Well, after we spoke, it was like a big change for me because I turned vegetarian. I had to like readjust all my diet and see how I was going to do. And when I started with my coach, we basically started, with the normal amount of calories, an approximate of what I was already eating, and increased from there. Have been increasing since then.
And well, there's always that myth that goes through all the time, and I think we touched base on this last time, but it needs to be brought up every single time. But how do you get your protein in as a vegetarian bodybuilder?
Well, I'm still ovo vegetarian, so I eat some eggs still, and the rest I get it from small sources like uh, beans, for example, chickpeas, but they also have carbs. So I get the most with protein powder.
Mm. Yeah. Well, yeah, that definitely doesn't hurt either. I mean, that's a go-to for so many people. But when you're starting this new, you started to put on, 25 pounds. Has your training been different at all from last year when we talked to where it's been at right now since you knew that you had to put on weight?
And no, I've seen from what my coach has sent me, for example, that I am doing arms like twice a week, so separate. So basically to just get more stimulation there, but it's basically the same.
What is one body part that you think has improved the most since the last time we talked?
Well, I've grown like in most of the places. I would say that I'm focused a lot on my back. My torso tends to be kind of long, so it needs a lot of meat, in the mid back to to look full. So I would say that's one.
Yeah. Well, that's always a nice thing to have too. I mean, that's one of those areas that I think a lot of women struggle with. But I was, like I've told you many times, I mean, I was blessed with a nice back, so that's my one saving grace. But I mean, this has just been just such a wacky time, especially these last few months. And I know that I think in the Latin American countries, it's taken longer for the coronavirus to hit. When did things really start to sort of get a little crazy down there?
Well, I think it's still getting crazy right now. We started the quarantine about 3 months ago, the lockdowns. And I mean, I always say, the pandemic is a pandemic. It's going to be here. It's affecting the whole world. But what's affecting us most here is the government because there isn't really a response for the sick people. There isn't places for the sick people to go. So that's the issue here. So it's getting crazy now because we don't have the mobile hospitals that they were supposed to buy. I mean, the money's gone. So that's basically the problem here and what's actually crazy. Our president, the whole thing with our president is the craziness here, not the pandemic.
Well, hey, that works for a lot of countries as well. But I have limited knowledge of Honduras, and I just, it's interesting how other countries are handling this because there've been reports of countries that have like deaths that are in like the teens. Basically, they only have like 15 people or so, and it's just, it's fascinating. But especially when this comes to, I mean, your bodybuilding lifestyle. Have there been any food shortages at all, or has it been still been just as easy for you to get your food as because up in the U.S. There have been like some meat shortages and there have been some other food shortages that other bodybuilders that I've had on the podcast have had to deal with.
Here we had issues when they started the lockdowns because first, not even the supermarkets were open, just like little mini markets from neighborhoods, they were sometimes open and we would get like basic stuff there. But no, right now we can deliver, home and we can go to the supermarket already. So luckily I don't eat meat.
Well, yeah,
So
that also helps too. It's that you pick the right time to avoid that. But when it comes to your workouts too, I mean, so many people that we've talked about have struggled with the gyms being closed, and a lot of people don't have at home stuff that they can do. But how have you been able to still maintain this physique and stay in shape during this pandemic?
I bought some equipment for my house when the lockdown started. Just basic equipment, a barbell, some dumbbells, a bench. I was training about 2 months here at home, and eventually I was like, no, I can't do this anymore. I have to go to the gym. And thankfully, there was a gym that's open that it shouldn't be open. But I mean, a lot of businesses here are thriving, and the government, like I said, is the main issue here. And people are either going to die from the virus or they're going to die of hunger. Businesses really need to work here. So I've been going to that gym because it was getting pretty weird here at home. I mean, I was training at 12 midnight some days. It was just horrible. It was like I really really tried to like focus and be like, no, I'm gonna have my routine at home, my schedule, and I was like, nah, it didn't happen.
I mean, there have been so many times too where I've tried those late night workouts, and yeah, they're definitely interesting. And it's interesting going to sleep after that too. And that's one thing that I think has impacted me more than anything else is just because I've been furloughed, so I haven't been working for about 3.5 months, and I probably won't be working probably until September at least. So, I mean, it's just that sleep schedule has that obviously working out at midnight. Has your sleep been impacted a lot by this? Because I found that for a lot of people, when they don't have anything to do the next day, it's kind of a free for all for a lot of people.
Yeah, well, I was like that for some days, but now since I'm going to the gym and most of the things are already like running normal, I'm going to the gym at 6 a.m. So, so I do sleep like at 9, 10 the latest.
Well, that's good because I mean, if it's going to be 100 degrees outside, you probably want to go out at like 6 a.m. when it's probably like 80 degrees or 70 degrees or something like that, which is probably the only thing to do. But I mean, it's just the when you were going through this change, when you were putting on all this weight, did your body respond really, really quickly, or was it something where it took a lot of time? Because I think depending on your body type, for a lot of people, they either respond really quickly to changes or it takes a little bit more time.
Well, as long as I eat my calories, I'm always increasing. I always see results, like little by little. But there's some days, that stuff just happens. Either there's so many meals right now that if you get delayed out in the street or something and didn't eat in time, it's already messed up, So there's eventualities that go on that sometimes I'm like, man, I couldn't, hit 100% my calories this week. So those are my delays, but I have been increasing normally. I would say it's kind of difficult for me because I am eating a large amount of calories, and for that amount, I would be like, man, why can't I be 200 now? But
Is that the goal, 200?
that would be. I see it like very very difficult, But maybe in some years it would totally be yes.
Because I'm 210, but I'm also 6'3", so I mean that kind of, it's a little bit easier for me to do, for me to come up with that. But yeah, that's awesome. Where are you standing at right now?
I was 156 this morning. It's really far
I was
away.
gonna say I could not picture you with 50 more pounds of muscle. Good God, what would that look like? Jesus. Who?
Probably like I would need a couple of years.
Oh yeah. Well, absolutely. And were you a lot of competitors that I've had on too were preparing for shows before the pandemic hit. Were you preparing for a show at all, or were you just trying to put on some weight?
Well, I was just trying to put on some weight, and we had originally discussed with my coach, but that was last year, the Omaha Pro. But since I took the hiatus, I kind of like didn't have time to get back on track and improve from there. So I had mentioned the Romania Muscle Fest. That's in November. But it's how things are here right now. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to make it. The airports are still closed. There's lots of things, that are not in my favor. But I have like 4 weeks still to decide. But nah, I don't think it's going to happen, sadly.
I honestly say, just as long as they keep, football playing in the fall, and I mean North American football, as long as they keep that going, that's all I really care about. That as long as they have that one thing to entertain me, I could care less about anything else. But yeah, they're closing down. I mean, all these leagues are returning, but who knows? For sports in Honduras, have they opened back up some sporting events, or is that still shut down?
No, everything is completely shut down. No gyms, no social places, like restaurants or anything. Everything's delivery or takeout.
Yeah. I mean, things have opened up a little bit here, but cases, I mean, I'm all the way in Minnesota, so things aren't, I mean, things are actually pretty good. I'm not going to say good here because there's still people, but there's only like 10 or 12 people die a day now on average of it. So it's not that bad as opposed to like places like Texas and California where there's hundreds upon hundreds that are going. But yeah, it's just been an interesting time. And then obviously with, the George Floyd stuff, that event happened literally 15 minutes from where I live, so that's been really close to home. So it's been a very fascinating time to be alive and interesting. So it's been, at least, at least there's been stuff to focus on as opposed to, just sitting around all day. But what have you done other than, how have you kept yourself busy, doing, just being at home all the time, when you're not working out or getting groceries or deliveries or anything?
Well, I read a lot of books, about different subjects, about consciousness, alchemy, and all that stuff. So I keep myself pretty busy, I'm like writing stuff, learning about dreams, and it was a good time for me to actually catch up on that.
One thing that a lot of bodybuilders I think struggle with, especially when they have so much time on their hands, is the fact that, they just want to keep working out, or they just have trouble then with all that free time of like, hey, I can really get more of a workout in. Has that been a struggle for you, just realizing that, like, hey, I can't overtrain just because I have all this free time?
Actually, no. A couple, maybe like almost like maybe like 2 years ago, I used to be that way that I was like, no, I have to train, 6 days a week, and I'm just gonna rest one because I need to improve. And I was actually doing what I wanted to do, and then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna listen to my coach. He's one of the best coaches out there, and he's had 50 oldies. He's not going to be telling me to do something just because, he knows. So he told me to rest 2 days a week according to his program. His routines are actually not long at all. He, they might seem like they're easy, but they're not. They're done properly, but they're quick workouts. Actually, he wants me in and out of the gym in an hour.
Well, and yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I struggled with that just at the beginning of this quarantine where I was, running for like an hour and a half, and then I was working out for like 45, and I was lifting for like 45 minutes after that. And I'm like, God, and then I just got so tired where I mean, like I was just dead like every night, and then I was like, God, well, I just had so much to do, and then so yeah, I've been trying to adjust that myself because like and just the stress too of everything has just been, oh my God, yeah. So I mean, a lot of people struggle with that, and just know everyone, yeah, it's like you have to find out what works best for you, and I mean. I have to say this a million times, but just because you work out in the gym for 4 hours doesn't mean you're going to get the same. I mean, people who work out for 40 minutes get this even sometimes even better results than the people that work out for 4 hours. It's all about quality, not quantity, and that's something that I think a lot of people need to understand. Absolutely. So, yep. But when it also comes to your lifting, have you done any new PRs since you put on this 25 pounds? Have you tried anything like that, or is it all just about just leaning down now and getting ready for those shows, or where are you currently at right now?
I haven't had any PRs. Um, I'm just training normally. Sometimes I even use like less weight than I used to do for some exercises because the tempo is a little bit more challenging. So no PRs when it comes to weight. No cardio at the moment. I'm happy but not happy at the same time because I should be doing at least, like 20 minutes.
Yeah. No, it's yeah, that's one thing that we hear a lot too, but so many people, even if they do have like those little, workout setups in their house, even during the pandemic. So what was an average workout like for you? And you had just that average, that, just that equipment lying around. Cause so many people, I mean, they don't know how to turn that into a right workout because they're just so used to gyms.
Well, what I did was I looked at my program that I had from my coach, and I tried to do with what I had the same workout or something that would um, be similar to that. So if I had tricep extensions, I would use the band, with tricep extensions. Um, that's basically how I did it. I wasn't trying to reinvent the wheel with home workouts, and all that crazy stuff.
She's not trying to reach the 200 pounds when she's at home. At least of muscle. I mean, at least of muscle. I mean, who knows? You could have went on an eating binge, but yeah. I always say that. I mean, those home workouts are just basically just to maintain and stuff. But
They're to maintain, but there were some days that I was like, before I started training at home, I took off like a week. I wasn't training because I didn't know if the gyms were going to open or not. And I was like, I don't want to train home. I'm really not motivated. I have no gym equipment. But once I started the workout, it was actually like, it's working. You can actually feel it completely. It works. But definitely you need weight if you want to add some muscle. With the resistance bands, you're just going to maintain your muscle.
oh, you're just gonna get like veins and stuff like that. Basically, is all that you're gonna get with with the bands. But I mean, Honduras has a small bodybuilding community. How have other bodybuilders? Have you reached out to any of them and how they've been dealing with this pandemic as well?
Well, I actually encountered one fellow competitor from here. We saw each other at the gym today. She went there, but she's been also training at home. What she's done is that she's invested a little bit more in equipment, in professional equipment, so that she can train some clients there, which is actually smart. But I mean, I saw her at the gym. She was like, "Yeah, I don't want to, I want to train home. I want to do leg press." And so it's basically that. But
Yeah. I mean, I've seen on Reddit sometimes when I was looking up, or just some of these places where you can buy equipment. Some people have been, putting the prices up like 500%, or it's just some people have gotten away with murder basically with when it comes to the pricing. So it's yeah. I mean, good for them, but I mean, it's kind of sucky, but yeah. I mean, just this whole process of what it's been like going through all this. And I mean, the mental side of this too, what's that been like mentally for you? Because I mean, just like with bodybuilding too, I mean, it's so much more mental than it is physical. But with this pandemic too, mentally, how have you been dealing with it?
well, I think the lockdowns were challenging for pretty much everybody. I would say, there were some days when I was like, everything is everything's okay, and I was all zen and everything. And all of a sudden, there was a week that I was like, this is this house is haunted by me. But it's all I do now, breath work, and that has really helped me in many different things. So whenever I just feel like that, I just go down to the floor, lie down and okay, I'm gonna start, light up some incense, burn some herbs, and it actually helps. It helps.
The first time that you were on, you did that ab breathing exercise too. Is that what you're talking about, or is that different? And do you still do that ab exercise where you just like suck in and then you suck out?
I still do that one, and I've incorporated other styles of breath work because each has a different purpose, or it gets you to different states. Um, so they're basically used in yoga. I was practicing some yoga before the lockdowns, and I couldn't keep doing it because I tried following online a yoga teacher, and I just don't feel it's the same. I like having someone here fixing my posture and everything. It's really actually challenging for me to do yoga because I'm not that flexible.
Yep.
So that basically.
I was gonna say someone of your stature might have a little bit of difficulty doing yoga, but it's a lot of my friends swear by it, and I say more power to them. But when it comes to just all the stuff too that comes along with this pandemic, and just relaxing and staying calm, when there's also moments where everyone freaks out and thinks it's the end of the world, especially in the US, where we have our news network tries to make it seem like it is the end of the world, and then it's really hard for people and whatnot. But other than staying calm and doing that, that's probably one thing that I can say to everyone is just hey, it's something that we're gonna have to deal with, and it's just unfortunate that it's happened, but it's best to stay safe. But when you're also looking at your the outlook for the future, where would you like to be at, or where do you see yourself maybe like a year from today? I mean, because who knows with this pandemic, if we're even going to have a vaccine by then, so who knows? But where would you like to see yourself in a year?
That's a very interesting question because everything that's happening right now, it's so fast and with no precedents, right? Yeah. Um, I don't know where I would see myself in a year from now. Probably just with less conditionings that we have now. I think that the world has always been the way that it is now. It's not getting darker. We're just being
People have
removed.
more time to look at it, basically.
Huh?
I think it's just people have more time to look at it, basically, that they're just discovering nothing's changing, but just more people are being aware of what's going on.
A lot of things are coming out to the surface. They've always been happening. So we just need to be prepared with knowledge and with truth that resonates with us to be able to take upon everything that's coming to us. The vaccine, the whole what people are calling new normal, which is, I don't know, just different. But yeah, we need to be ready.
Now, one of the most, I mean, probably the elephant in the room since we last talked is I don't think you had that neck tattoo since we last talked. What's the inspiration behind that, and what does it mean?
It doesn't have like a specific meaning. I just like black symmetry and geometric figures. So that's basically it. It's some black symmetry.
So a lot of people, I have friends that get tattoos on like their hands or their arms. Was it painful getting one on your neck?
It was very much. Yeah, crazy, crazy. The little trachea here, it's called in English. Yeah. Ugh.
But hey, everyone, she willingly volunteered for it. She wasn't forced to do it. She willingly did. But that's just, I mean, you must just really like pain. I mean, yeah, I mean, with the amount of workouts that you do and the amount of, I mean, tattoos. I mean, good God. I mean, who knows what this if this quarantine goes on for how long, how you're going to be able to maintain that love for it. But no, I mean, that's just. I've never had someone with a neck tattoo on the podcast before, so that was really really. And so again, everyone, we have firsts all the time around here, but yeah, it's just, I mean, just fascinating times that we live in. But a question that I asked this New Year's, coming into New Year's, was what is one body part that everyone wants to see improve the most over the year? And I did it as a poll for all my viewers, and I had arms, abs, back and legs, and arms won by at least like 10%. It was a ridiculous vote. I should have known that probably would have won. But what does an arm day look like for you, or what do you train for arms? Because I like to ask that to all the guests now, just so that all the secrets are out in the bag, so that everyone has the best knowledge possible of how to get good arms.
Well, currently I have four different exercises for biceps and for triceps in one day. I do an arm day, biceps and triceps together. I do the basic regular exercises. I do tricep extensions. Uh, then I do an easy tricep press. I think that's how you would call it. You press down, but not to your chest, more to the chin, to get the triceps. Bench dips and some reverse grip tricep extensions. Then for biceps, I do dumbbell curls. I hold them up for a second and go down in 3 seconds, pretty slow. Then I do barbell curls. Then I do reverse barbell curls. And that's basically it.
I mean that's the base. I mean that's the classic stuff right there, and that's one answer that we hear of a lot. I mean, so many people have tried so many different things, and it's like, hey, the classics are there for a reason, basically. But so I take it then that you like to do a lot of time under tension in your training too.
Yes, yes, good contractions.
Yep, that's one thing that I've talked about a lot on this podcast. But when it comes to that mind muscle connection that everyone talks about, with time under tension and with working out in general, a lot of people, the time that it takes to develop that for a lot of people, I mean, it varies between it happening sooner, or some people it takes years upon years to develop that. How long into your journey before you feel that you develop that mind to muscle connection that a lot of people say is so important when it comes to growth?
Um, it's been developing, over the years, but I have improved it a lot maybe the last 4 years, 3 years. It's gotten more easier for me to connect with me, myself, my mind, and my muscles when I go to the gym. Um, but yeah, it requires a little bit of practice to make those connections because your brain is just making those new movements in your mind.
Yep. No, it's fascinating. And when I first heard about that, when I was just starting the podcast, I was like, "Oh, really?" And then I realized that I had just started having it right as soon as I started the podcast, because I, was working out too, and but I've been working out for years before then. But it's just, yeah, it's fascinating, and I can agree it really does help. But have you been working on posing at all, or has that been something that you've kind of not been focusing on as much?
Yes, I got a posing class last week. I don't have a show near yet, but posing is so important. I would say that more than body or physique weaknesses, I have other areas to attend, like posing, and it's a huge difference. I mean, I saw my lat spread from how I did it to when my posing coach fixed it, and it was like a body transformation because it looked very, very much wider. It's so important to have advisory for that.
Oh, it's all one big illusion too. But what? So your lat, is that one thing that you think you're working on the most now? Is your lat spread, or is there another area that you really think that you need to work on before your next show?
Um, I'd like my arms to grow, a little bit more by then.
Well, give us a
Definitely.
front double bicep. Let's see how the guns are. Look at that, everyone. That's good. That's good enough. Yeah, grow them a little bit. Geez, you grow them a little bit bigger. You're not even gonna be able to fit through a door. Geez, you're gonna have to start walking in like this, basically.
They gotta be 16s. Come
Be
on,
16.
at
What are they
least
at right
16.
now?
They're like 15.
Oh, okay. So
Like some months ago, they were 14 and 3/4. By now, I'm a little bit bigger, so I think they're 15.
hey, that at that rate, it'll take you about another year, yeah, and you get them up to 16s, yeah, and then geez,
Yeah.
yeah. 16 inches. Good God, that's not even fair, everyone. I got to go and work out now again. Jesus Christ. I already got my workout in for the day, but looks like I got to go to work out again. But yeah, I mean, if that isn't motivation, I have no idea what is. But also this, with everything and training and, posing and whatnot, have you, has bodybuilding sort of taken a back turn, or has bodybuilding sort of, become, not as important, I should say. I don't know really know how to say it, but it's kind of been put on the back run for you. But or is it still, really, really big for you? Or is this quarantine really forced you to like sort of like reevaluate things and realize that, like, hey, it's not all about going up on that stage? Or what's that been like for you?
Well, I would say that I actually realized how much I really enjoy training for bodybuilding when I got back to the gym. It's one of the things that really motivates me just to get up, and for the day and do my food, even though I complain so much that it's so much food all the time and that I don't want to keep eating, it's one of the things that really, I'm not going to say that gives me a sense of purpose, because I know that there's a lot of things that one has a purpose for, but it's an activity that allows me to develop many things, not just physically, but like discipline, work ethic, patience, humility. Be humble, because yes. um, so it's for me, it's that it's very much a spiritual practice for me as well, not just a physical practice.
Oh, it's your alone time too. You can kind of, just let go for the day and just, all your stresses kind of go behind you and you're able to just focus on yourself. But I was going to bring up, since you're a mom, I mean, what does this have schools been shut down the last 3 months, or have they been, so have you been homeschooling?
Yes, they have been receiving classes online. They're already done. And I think that for the rest of this year, they ended class like 2 or 3 weeks ago, but they restart classes again like in August. And I believe they're going to keep doing them online.
So what has that been like, where normally you might have a little break from, dealing with kids for about 6 hours out of the day, to now you're dealing with it constantly? What has that been like for you?
It's really challenging, because even though that you're home, there were times that I was doing my stuff. I go out and I come back, and the kids are here, and I mean, like, it's really not that hard, kids. Your class starts at 8. You just gotta be up at it, and then suddenly I see an email like, your son didn't come into class today, and I'm like, what were you doing? And he's like, I forgot. I'm like, how can you forget? So no, it's quite challenging. I really admire teachers, that have the patience to be with 30 kids at the same time, trying to get them to focus. Definitely, I don't know, but it's something to actually think about, because kids actually can learn a lot from home too, not just stuff from the education system. So I believe it has its benefits.
I honestly don't have the attention span to like be. I would be just like your son. I'd be waking up at like 10 o'clock, and even though I was supposed to be in at 8, I mean that for me would be just an absolute living hell for me, just because I could not get any of that. My attention would not work for classes at home. But yeah, it's been. I mean, I have friends that are teachers too that are just talking about what they've been going through, and it's again, it's just so out of the ordinary and so abnormal of a time, and
It's hard for the kids, because they're the ones that haven't been able to actually get out of the house by for anything, not to go shopping for food or anything. And I have 2 kids, so they were basically like, we had to keep one in one room and one in the other, so that they wouldn't, like, kill each other. So it's been fun.
yeah, yeah. Again, I can't imagine what that's been like, but yeah, I mean, it's funny because I mean, they're the people that, according to research, that the young ones are the ones least likely to have serious things happen to them. I mean, I think there's something like there's like almost a 0% chance of, or there's like a so minuscule a percent of chance of dying if you're like between the ages of like 5 and 15 or 5 and 20, or it's some weird statistic like that. Where I always find that funny. It's like, well, they're the ones inside more. But one thing that I think is just not been talked about, especially with bodybuilding around here, is that are you concerned at all, maybe like if you do go to these shows? One thing that I've talked about with a few guests, and I didn't mean to scare them, but like when you're at that low of a body fat percentage, when you're getting ready for a show, and when you step on that stage, if you get infected by coronavirus, I mean, who knows what that might do, because your immune system's probably not as strong as it should be. Is that a concern for you at all? And is that maybe like why you might wait until the coronavirus might be not done with, but there might be a vaccine for it before you think about competing? Or has that ever been a thought that's crossed your mind?
Well, I actually don't think about that because if you think about that, you're opening yourself to the possibility of attracting that to your reality. So it's not something that I consider myself close to. Um, but what was I going to say? Oh, even if there's a vaccine, I am not going to put that vaccine. I'm not getting that in my body. I don't think it's something that's what would be the word for that? I don't think that's something that's actually that's been built to actually help us as humanity. I think, enough evidence, and if there's people that don't want to see it, I respect that. I believe it's cognitive dissonance when it's very hard for people to accept new information as true. But I wouldn't get it. I would basically just keep myself healthy.
Well, yeah, and plus the shape that you're in, I mean, you probably, I mean, that you would be, my bet, 99,000 times out of 100, you'd be fine. So yeah, I would say that too. And yeah, I mean, yeah, who knows what's going to be in a vaccine. So who knows what that all entails. But it's just, yeah, it's interesting, what this is taking a turn for, and how this might, affect bodybuilding, how this affects everything else. But is there a time that you'd think about when you'd come back to visit the US other than competitions? Do you have any dates set in mind?
No, I actually don't. I have nothing, like no travel plans for now since everything is closed here. I mean, the airports are not gonna let you out.
Yeah, we have like limited travel where you can go and travel and stuff, but it's, I think Europe is now going to have like a ban on US people entering because there's been, infections so high here. But yeah, yeah, it's a scary situation there. But how do you feel, that do you feel that it was right for bodybuilding to close down those shows that they did as quick as they did? Or do you think that maybe they should have had some? Because a lot of people, that's a controversial topic that a lot of people are like, oh hey, the show was just that next weekend before they shut it down, so might as well just let it happen. But what was your opinion on, their response to, shows, and how they, were really quick to shut things down?
I think maybe that was the best decision. You don't want to regret anything after just to do an event. So I understand that some people were preparing and that it could be, um, it would really suck to just be ready and be like, you know what, there's not going to be a show. Definitely. But we have to trust that these things happen for our best.
Mhm. Yeah, it's that's a question that I've asked too. That a lot of people, we have different answers, depending on. But yeah, I do think it was for the best, because yeah, you have no idea what's going to happen with even one person infected, and who knows what damage that could cause. So I really do think.
You say our immune system, it's a little bit delicate when we're so low on body fat and that. So I think it's just prudent.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, it's that too. But I mean, one thing that before we wrap things up that I like to talk about, because so many people with all this free time, they have no idea what to do with it. A lot of people are struggling with that. But I always say, for, so many people in the general public, that there's always just this desire that they want to get in shape, but they just don't know how to do it. I mean, I think that's probably the biggest thing, is that people just don't realize how to, stay in shape or get in shape in the first place. But what advice do you have for people, especially now that, I mean, they're locked up and they might not have access to equipment? But what advice do you have for people that might be looking just to get started working out? Because I think a lot of people should just get started, and then once the gyms open back up and everything becomes a little bit more safer, then they can really, take things up a notch. But just having that background, because if you just go cold turkey and walk into a gym, good luck, with that. Your body will just basically break itself in half. But what advice would you like to give someone who's maybe, saying like, hey, I just want to get started on something?
Since you're at home and you're locked down and you have plenty of time, you can definitely get a book on how to track your calories, how to distribute your macros. Because to get results in the gym, the first thing is to have your nutrition set up properly. You can train every day, and if you are eating an inadequate amount of calories for your body, you're just not going to see results. So it's really, really not that complicated to get those formulas, to get that information, to start just like studying a little bit, writing down stuff, um, trying out new foods that you like. People have to understand that being on a diet doesn't mean that you have to eat bland foods. It simply means that you have to track what you're eating. So,
Well, and I always say walking too. It's like that's the easiest thing you can do. Just go out and walk. I mean, walk outside, early in the morning or at night if you have to, if you're concerned about, getting it from someone. But that's what I've been doing too. And that's probably the one thing that, obviously almost everyone can do that. And it's, it's a great way to start. But yeah, it's just there's a lot of, I mean, I don't know about you, but with Instagram, with everyone deciding to post their at-home workouts, it became like just scrolling through my feed, it became so boring after about 2 days, where it was just every single time you're scrolling down, you're like, oh, great, another at-home workout that I can finally see, and that I haven't seen 1,000 times. But people have become real innovative on that. But is there anyone that you'd like to give a shout out to before we wrap things up?
um, like, no. Probably just all the athletes that are preparing right now to compete. I hope that everybody does well at their shows. With what we've been saying, how they're prepping at home and everything. I've been seeing some athletes prepping at home, and it's admirable. I would have lost probably motivation real quick, and so basically, just those athletes right now that have been having a hard time and that have stuck. It's really admirable.
I've seen some of those people that are prepping at home, and I just say that it's like, oh my god, like yeah, that's motivation to the extreme right there. Like that's dedication on another level that I personally probably could not fathom, and I know a lot of other people couldn't as well. But have you found that the general mood of people, because in the U.S. it's interesting going out because everyone's wearing masks and everyone seems to be a little bit more friendlier, but do you find that people are a little bit more friendlier or a little bit more compassionate about people, or because the situation has gotten desperate for so many people that people seem to be a little bit less kind and friendly to each other?
Um, I don't socialize much with people and with unknown people that I've ran into, for example, at the supermarkets. Everybody's just keeping their distance. You can see that there some people that are like, hi, hi, hi. They want to say hi, in like normal, and then they're like, no, no, bye. um, I mean, it's different times. There's other people that well, there's lots of people complaining. I can't blame them. It's it's pretty sad to see them.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine what it must be like down there, but I'm at least happy that you're doing well, at least, and that, I mean, you still have ways to exercise and keep up with this lifestyle, and that's great that you do. And it's just, yeah, it's just so unfortunate. I mean, we really are seeing some of the best in humanity and some of the worst in humanity at the time. So it's interesting, and if anyone's interested in what's going on in Honduras, I highly recommend you look it up. I'm actually going to do some research tonight then, just because I'm a history guy, and I love current events too, and I have not been paying that much attention. So I'll honestly look that up, and then I might leave some stuff down below where people can go and research. And again, Hulda, thank you so much for coming on. I really really appreciate it, and it's always a pleasure to talk to you. And I mean, I wish you nothing but the best, and I look forward to having you on another year from now. And who knows where you'll be at right now? You might be getting ready for a show. We have no idea what the future might hold. Yeah, the anticipation is killing. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Ryan, for having me again here. It's always a nice talk. Thanks for sharing.
Well, I really appreciate that. And for anyone out there who might need some more motivation, can you give us another front double, and then that's the best way to end it right there. I mean, it's just like it's just absolutely ridiculous. Okay, now, again, I need to go and work out now. But again, this is Ryan Johnson, and I'll leave a link to our Instagram page. I'll just warn everyone ahead of time. You will be inspired to work out and, get in shape. But other than that, thank you again for coming on, and have a great day, everyone.